Before I forget, Steve M just sent in another Venmo, and he goes, all negativity aside, happy birthday, O. Love you, Steve M. All right, there he is, Safid Deen. Brother, wow. Josh Boyer did more with less. That's all I can tell you.
Let me know if you can hear me, Big O. I just
Oh,
plugged
I
in
hear
my.
you perfectly. I
Okay,
hear you
cool.
perfectly. Why not move X around with Diggs, bro? Like, why did you have such a hard on to leave Kohu? Diggs would burn any cornerback in the NFL. A second year corner, and you have X out there. I'd rather live and die with X.
Yeah, that was a really questionable decision too, especially after you saw Kohu getting beat like the first 2 times, 3 times,
Yeah.
especially after the missed tackle with him and Brandon Jones trying to come over and tackle. Brandon Jones played decent before that part of the game. But look, I'm a big Cater Kohu guy. This was obviously his worst game of his career, but
Yes.
this was, this is a player who could stay kind of toe to toe and kind of close the gap with Diggs a little bit more than Howard. Kohu's a little bit more twitchier. So I can see why the matchup worked in theory, but it didn't work at all on the field, man. Diggs is an animal. He's an absolute animal.
He's
And
awesome.
I felt like there were some times where Xavier probably knows how to play him that well and would have played him much better. So this is something that they're going to have to answer for sure. Fangio is going to be asked about this week. I'm sure Xavier Howard is in the locker room, asking, telling reporters why he wasn't playing Diggs and so on and so forth. But this was a really bad game, man. This was a bad game for the Dolphins. The defense
Horrible
gave
game.
up six touchdowns. Six
Yeah.
touchdowns.
Yeah.
After they scored
Bradley
10 last
Bradley
week.
Chubb Bradley Chubb continues to money, steal money to the point that when Jalen Phillips comes back, I'd bench his ass for Andrew Van Ginkel and Phillips would be my starters. Bradley Chubb does not deserve to start on this team anymore. The way Andrew Van Ginkel is playing.
The way Andrew Van Ginkel's playing, yeah, very much so. But this is it's a lot more bigger than I think just Bradley
Oh no,
Chubb at
no, I
all.
get, I get. There's a lot of things that
Yeah.
Fangio screwed up, Kohu screwed up, McDaniel going for a stupid ass 2-pointer that made no sense. There is no
Mm-hmm.
mathematical explanation whatsoever to go for that 2-point conversion. I there is a lot of things that went on in this game that you just had to scratch your head and say, like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah, man. Look, the Dolphins got punched in the mouth today. There's no other way to say this right now.
Dominated.
And
Dominated.
yeah, Josh Allen been punching him in the mouth ever since he joined the league.
Yep.
This was their 12th game that they played since Josh Allen joined the Bills in 2018. This was the Dolphins' 10th loss to Buffalo since 2018. 10 of them. All right. Got a win last year, sure, but this team has been kicking their you know what for a long time, up and down the field with that guy back there as quarterback.
Yeah.
This was a bad game for Vic Fangio and the defense. This is a bad game to have, game 4 of year 1 of a new defense, even though all those players have played together before. We've seen this before, Big O, with the Dolphins and their defense. First year of Brian Flores, first year of Josh Boyer, first year with Vic Fangio. These guys, it takes a while to learn the bend or break defense that they play, and they end up getting broken early on in the season, man. This was really, really bad. Van Ginkel was probably the only one that had a good game. I didn't
Yeah.
see anything much from Wilkins outside of him going to Josh Allen's face one time in the second quarter. We didn't see Bradley Chubb.
No.
David Long whiffed on a really bad play to James Cook in the second half.
Yep.
Jerome Baker, nowhere to be found, especially with the tight ends. Xavier, you don't know where he is on the field because Kohu's getting all the business. Javon Holland even had a bad game, but he's supposed to be the
Oh
one that
God,
saves the
he
day.
took a terrible angle on the runner down the sidelines.
Wow.
Holy shit! Did he take a bad angle? He gave up another
Yeah.
20 yards. I think it was the big Cook run. That was like a 50-yard run by Cook. He took a terrible angle and gave up 20 more yards. Even Holland didn't have a good game, dude.
Yeah. It's
Holland made a
bad. It
couple of
was a bad
mistakes.
defensive. It was a bad defensive showing. They gave up 6 touchdowns. You can't do that. You can't do that and expect to win in this division, expect to win in this league. This was an eye opener, Big O. You and I spoke last week. We thought the Bills were gonna hand the torch over to the Dolphins, and they kept it. And they told the Dolphins, "Not right now, buddy. Go back in your corner."
Yeah, no, they put him back in their place and said, "Yeah, you're still my bitch." Is basically what the Bills told the Dolphins today. And it's a shame because none of the three games last year resembled anything like this.
Yeah, this was bad. This was a landslide for sure.
Think
This was
about that.
far from that. This was
Think
far
about
from
that.
that. Yeah.
That's how effed up this is. This game did not resemble any of the three games last year. You did not get your ass kicked in any of the three games last year. You hung in there and then you lost at the end pretty much in the last two and you won the first one. And you could look at those games and say, bro, there were reasons why you could have won all three games.
Mm-hmm.
And today, there was no outside of the first four scores that they scored two, you scored two, and it was 14-14. Up
After
until
that, it
that
was
point, it was
27-6.
right. Up until that point, it was even, and then after that, they were leaving. It was over.
Yeah. The Bills outscored the Dolphins 27-6 to end that game after it was 14-14. They scored 17 unanswered to end the first half, right? Excuse me. The Dolphins just fell flat, man, on offense. Devin A-Chain was the only thing working for you. Raheem Mostert did not want to be there today. He was not very effective at all. And then, the Bills played cover two to keep Tyreek Hill out the game. And they kept Hill and Waddle both out of the game. You look at the stats right now. Tyreek Hill only had 3 catches, 58 yards after taking the league by storm the first 3 weeks. He was first in the NFL with 4 touchdown passes and second in receiving. Back down to 58 yards on 3 catches. Only had 5 targets. Jalen Waddle had 5 targets, 4 catches, 46 yards. You got no production out of them. They barely got 100 yards together with your 2-star players. That was the Bills' defense, the one that I thought was weaker because they were weaker in the secondary. They lost Tre'Davious White in this game, later on in the second half. But for a defense, I thought that was weak in the secondary. They were really, really strong up front. Tua was sacked about 4 times. He entered this game being sacked only twice, I believe. But this is where you see where the Dolphins are so good, Big O. Connor Williams did not play in this game because of an injury. Sure, he has the bad snaps every now and then, but there is something to be said about the continuity the Dolphins have when they have their starting 11. Connor Williams went down, did not play in this game. Teron Armstead went down right before halftime, and then it was just kind of all out of sorts from there.
And by the way,
out of sorts.
The face that Teron Armstead had on, I'm terrified that I'm going to hear he's done for the year. Put it that way.
Okay. Yeah, I would be too.
Yeah, because the way he was walking, as ginger as he was, that's him being a tough son of a bitch that wants to walk off the field, because he probably needed help and he probably refused it. But the face that he had,
yeah,
I don't know what's wrong with him, but we're not gonna see him for a while now.
It'll be like the thing that happened in Houston when they were in training camp, man, and joint practices. It'll take a couple weeks, and the best case scenario is Armstead comes back at some point in the season.
That's the best case scenario right now. I'm thinking is 6 to 8 weeks. If not, we're probably going to see that he's done for the year.
Yeah, and that would be unfortunate.
It just did not look good what I saw with Armstead there, and it's a shame because obviously he's such a difference maker, and Sean was right. Once he went out, even though Kendall Lamb has done a terrific job of filling in, it just seems like they got even more discombobulated once he went out.
Yeah, this offense is all about timing. It's about precision. It's about all 11 guys being on the same page. This is something I spoke to Robert Hunt about earlier this week, about since the Dolphins have been together since April, before OTAs, getting this together, getting on the same page, getting all 11 guys in unison. When one guy goes out, when another guy goes out, you're throwing 2 wretches into the whole thing, right? And everybody else is left to kind of pick up the pieces a little bit. What's funny? Last night I saw the Dolphins Bills game in December, the one Tua played in last night, and you could saw the shortcomings in the Dolphins in that game because Tyreek didn't know the offense at all. Tua was directing them where to go every single play on offense. This year is completely different. Tyreek knows a little bit more of the offense, but still the runs that he's doing behind the line of scrimmage, stuff like that, some of them are a little bit more decisive than they were last year. But the Dolphins are not really doing anything when they run Tyreek across the field and then run a running back right up the middle. The Bills are kind of just waiting there for it every time. The A-chain touchdown, the second one that came on the sweep, that was probably the best play that I saw in the red zone from the Dolphins this year. Um, obviously outside of everything that happened last week with the shovel passes, stuff like that. But Mike McDaniel got away from something in the second quarter. He got away from it because they were going toe to toe in that first half, and the Dolphins were the first one to punt in that game. There were about I forgot how many possessions before. I think Joe Shad had a great tweet: 19 first downs, no punts, and the Dolphins were the first to punt. And they got to hand it to them this week, Big O. This was a major letdown after what
Major.
happened last week against the Broncos. There was a stat going around. Teams that scored 60 points, I believe, were 0-6 against the spread. Going into their next game, this was another one of those, unfortunate situations for the team that did really well last week. But this is bigger, Big O. This is no torch being handed to the Dolphins by any means. The Dolphins are still second class in the AFC East to the Bills.
Yep, they are.
The
I
Dolphins
was
still
proven.
yeah. The Bills showed them once again that they're the top dog in the East. And the good thing about this for Miami, though, I will say, is that the next two games, Panthers and Giants. I mean,
Yeah,
four,
but
5-1.
that does nothing for me. Maybe
You
I'll
got
start
you
feeling.
got to get you got to find something on defense the next 2 weeks, man.
Yeah, no, Philly will make me feel a little better.
Or
Beating the
worse.
Giants, beating the Giants in Carolina don't do anything for me. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like you're supposed to beat them. You're better than them. Now,
Hmm.
when Philly comes around, if you beat them and your defense shows up, then I start to feel a little better. Like, okay, maybe you guys are starting to figure this thing out. But that's the sad part is that now it's waiting to the next test, and the real next test is Philly, and then eventually you'll meet Buffalo again, and then that will be, okay, we'll see. Have you made
Chiefs
any
in
progress?
Germany.
Yeah, Chiefs in Germany. Oh my God, that's another one of those that's going to be really, really tough for them. And the other thing is, the Bills. I got to give McDermott a lot of credit, bro. He did a marvelous job of pressuring Tua, of disrupting their passing game. They did well. They knew any of the screens and any of the throws out to the flats. They were ready for them. They tipped a couple of those. They were close to a couple of others. They had a really good feel for what the Dolphins wanted to do on offense.
Yeah. Now before the next Bills game, all we got to do is tell Mike McDaniel how much Sean McDermott outcoached them, so that he
Yes.
can pull one of those things that he did on Brandon Staley in Week 1, right?
Yes. Yes.
Mike McDaniel was outcoached today.
Oh,
The
badly.
2 point conversion was a bonehead call.
Terrible.
And obviously some plays didn't go their way. The players were not all lined up really well offensively. Tua kind of fell on the sword for them, post game, but he didn't have to. Everybody kind of saw what happened there. Liam Eichenberg was serviceable, not great against that Buffalo pass rush. And when it starts up front at the center position, it kind of just trickles down to everybody else, unfortunately. But like I said, the Bills had a great game plan for the Dolphins going into this game, man, and it worked to perfection. And the Dolphins got punched in the mouth. They got a nice slice of humble pie handed to them, especially after scoring 70 last week. Not everything is sweet for Miami right now. The thing you got to get back on the horse. You got to get back in perspective and realize what you're up against. You're up against Buffalo in your own division, and you're trying to see if you can stand toe to toe with anybody else in the upper echelon. And it's just the Chiefs right now. The Chiefs and the Bills. That's it. It's been like that the last couple of years. It feels like it's going to be like that again this year. And if the Dolphins can compete with the Chiefs in Germany later this year, you go steal one from the Bills at home in the final week of the season. We'll see how that goes. But from now on till then, you're trying your best to play well against teams like the Eagles when you see them, but you got to rack up these wins when you can too to improve your playoff seeding.
Amen to that. Amen. What do you got going on in the USA today that might depress us Dolphin fans?
At least something about Tua and the Dolphins getting back on the horse coming up here. But yeah, it's a football podcast. Should be very interesting. My colleague Tyler Dragon will be rubbing it in my face. This Dolphins loss, so I got to go eat crow from him, unfortunately. But you guys come and check us out. I'll also be on Messi duty as well, seeing if that guy comes back or not in the next couple games
Yeah,
this month.
Tata denied the hamstring tear or whatever that.
Yeah, that was a denial, sure. What will be, he said kind of we'll see how much longer. If Messi comes back, then I'll be right, and if he doesn't, I guess the reporter will be right. Whatever.
Right.
But yeah, man, I think unless Inter Miami makes the playoffs on their own without Messi, we're done seeing him for this year.
I agree with you on that one. All right. Follow him on Twitter at Safid_Deen and catch his work here 3 times a week doing it, baby, for the BaptistHealth.net/ortho Miami Dolphins report. Safid, as always, thank you, my friend. We will catch up on Tuesday.
Yeah, see you Tuesday, Big O.
Thank you, sir. There you go. Baptist Health of South Florida, folks. They're the official sports medicine provider for the Miami Heat, Miami Dolphins, Florida Panthers, InterMiamiCF, FIU, FAU, Orange Bowl, Miami-Dade County Public Schools, Miami Open Tennis, and the Miami Marathon and Half Marathons. Visit the folks at BaptistHealth.net/ortho.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.